Hello, and welcome to everyone that is joining us today for our webinar. Today's webinar is another installment in our series of featured states where we look to provide you with information on all the different states across the U.S. Where Worldwide HealthStaff Solutions currently is recruiting for great direct hire, permanent placement positions and opportunities. My name is Ron Hoppy. I have the privilege of serving as CEO of Worldwide HealthStaff Solutions. And again, I'd like to welcome everyone that is joining us today. As always, just at the outset, I would ask everyone to just take a moment and in the chat section of your screen, just take a moment and share with us where it is that you're joining from. We're always very interested in seeing the many different countries around the world from which we have applicants joining us. So if you'd be so good, just take a moment, say hello, let us know you're here, and just let us know what country you're joining us from. That would be greatly appreciated. I'm very excited today also to be joined by two of my colleagues that I'll introduce in just a moment. They're going to be really leading us through the presentation today. But just before I do that, just a couple of things that will help you get the most out of today's presentation. First, you will see in the upper right corner of the chat section of your screen, there's a yellow box or a yellow section there. We call it our Post-it note. And a couple of pieces of information there that may be helpful to you. The first is, if at any point during the presentation today, you would like to actually connect live and in real time with a Worldwide HealthStaff recruiter, you're able to do so by using that link that's provided there, Worldwide HealthStaff Solutions live chat. That will connect you directly with someone on our recruiting team who will be able to help you, answer any questions or provide you with further details on information related to positions that we have available in Pennsylvania specifically, as well as other locations if those are of interest. So please be aware of that. Also, at the end or towards the end of our presentation today, we will have time set aside to answer any questions that you might have. So again, please just type your questions in the chat section of your screen. We have colleagues from our marketing and communications team that are supporting us in our presentation this morning. And they'll be monitoring your questions as they come in, and we'll do our best to answer as many of those as we can as we go on later in our presentation. We are going to stay with our commitment to have this session be limited to 60 minutes. We want to be respectful of your time. But having said that, also please know that everyone that registered for this webinar will receive an email in about 24 hours from now. And that in that email, you'll have a video recording of today's presentation so that you can go back and review any information that you would like to review and maybe dig into a little more deeply. And also, when you do receive that link with the recording of today's presentation, please feel free to share that link with any of your nursing friends or colleagues that you think may also be interested in the information that will be shared here today. In addition to Samantha and Molly, who are joining us for our presentation today, again, in the chat section, we're also joined by another colleague, Ashley Wheatley. She's actually our Director of Relocation. She's joining us today, we'll say virtually. Ashley's struggling with having lost her voice in the last day or so. So appreciate her joining in and contributing to the presentation as we go along today as well. For those of you that have already sent us a quick note and let us know where you're joining from, thank you for doing that. If you haven't yet done so, please do so. Really excited to see there's a number of individuals, a number of guests joining us from Saudi Arabia, UAE, and other places in the Gulf. I will soon be in the Gulf with another one of our colleagues in just a few weeks' time at the beginning of November, and we'll share some more information about that later on in the presentation before we wrap up as well. So with all of those sort of upfront instructions and observations taken care of, I'm very excited to introduce two members of the Worldwide HealthStaff Solutions relocation team. Our relocation team is dedicated to working with our applicants, starting from even before they are planning to arrive or are confirmed to arrive in the United States, supporting them through that whole process, and then also being supported by our retention team once applicants arrive. So if you have questions about any aspect of the relocation process to the U.S., feel free to share those as well. I'm joined by my colleague Samantha and Molly. And Samantha, I'd like to ask you to get us started by just reviewing some of the top cities in Pennsylvania for our guests on the webinar today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Ron. First of all, I'd just like to say congratulations to all of you who have been assigned to Pennsylvania. And for those here who are just curious about the state, I hope you learn a lot from our presentation. So like Ron said, I'd like to talk about the top cities and metro areas in Pennsylvania. The first being Philadelphia. This might be the most common city you've heard of. They are very famous for their food, specifically their Philly cheesesteak sandwich. If you have never heard of this, it is a sandwich with sliced beef and cheese in a roll. I've never personally had it, but I heard it's very delicious. If you ever go there and try it, you will have to let us know. The second metro area is Pittsburgh. It is very heritage rich there. In fact, they are known for mining, and this city played a very important part in U.S. history. Pittsburgh has more than 10 million people visit each year, which is pretty cool. This is a very popular city. Next, we have Allentown. They are known for very famous historical sites and museums that talk a lot about the American Revolutionary War and the Civil War, all of these things that relate to American history. So this is popular for people who want to learn more about that. Next, we are going to go into the top cities to visit. So like I said in the previous slide, we have talked about Philadelphia and Pittsburgh, but I'd just like to talk about a few more. So Hershey, like the candy bar, the chocolate bar, they have some top two kind of famous areas in Hershey are the Hershey Amusement Park. So this is a chocolate-themed amusement park, which is pretty cool. They have roller coaster rides and just rides for all ages. And then they have Chocolate World, which is kind of like a Hershey's candy shop where you can try all different kinds of chocolate in all shapes and forms. So that is pretty exciting. I have personally never been there, but I've always wanted to go. Next, we have Harrisburg. They are famous for their hiking and famous Appalachian Trail. So if you love to be outdoors, I think this would be a great place to visit. Just a little fun fact, the hiking trail that I mentioned, this famous Appalachian Trail, it is actually 230 miles long. So if you would like to try the feat, that would be very challenging, but very impressive. Next, we have Gettysburg. So Gettysburg is known for their national battlefield. They actually have Civil War reenactments that you can be a part of here, which is very, very unique. This is where you can learn more about the different wars that happened in Pennsylvania. They also have haunted tours, since Pennsylvania is a very old state. They like to have haunted tours, just to add to the fun of it. Lastly, we have Lancaster, which is known for the nation's oldest Amish communities, which is pretty cool if you're interested in that. Does anyone else have anything to add? Have any of you visited these places?
So, Samantha, thanks for that. I think it might be interesting just for our guests to know that Pennsylvania is located on the east coast of the U.S. Maybe not as well known as some of the surrounding states, but Pennsylvania, I think it'd be good to know that Pennsylvania is borders on New York State. It borders on Connecticut. It borders on Ohio. It borders on West Virginia. And I think part of it even touches on Washington, D.C. So when you think about where the state of Pennsylvania is actually located, I think it's just interesting to know what the surrounding states are as well, for individuals that might have friends or family living in the immediate area.
And what I love about this too is this particular state kind of touches on all kinds of touristy attractions for applicants who are considering going. We have anything from amusement parks and museums to wonderful historic sites for those who love to learn about history, as well as our outdoor activities like hiking. So I think that's wonderful.
Thank you both. All right, now I'm going to pass the time to Molly to talk about the climate in Pennsylvania.
Thank you so much, Sam. Climate here, I think, is a big thing to consider when you're considering moving to a brand new location. Just from research and a little bit of what I know about Pennsylvania, it is a humid subtropical climate. However, they do have very long and warm winters. Winters tend to get a little bit more cold, and they does snow there. But I think that there's a lot of great activities that you can find in all of the seasons here in Pennsylvania. And I always appreciate a long summer myself. Just to kick us off on over to our next slide here, we have a lot of great information about the transportation in Pennsylvania. This goes over driving and public transportation options. As you can see here at the bottom of the slide, we have a great link here that takes you to a page of all kinds of information about Pennsylvania. But I think it's really important to note about the transportation in Pennsylvania, and something that I really appreciate, is that you do have rideshare services in all of the Pennsylvania counties. That includes things like Uber, Lyft, taxi services, which I think is really important to our applicants to have accessibility to, just when the need occurs that you may need that. So I love to hear that they have those rideshare services in all the counties. They do have bus services in 19 of their urbanized areas, as well as some of their rural areas as well, which I think is a rarity when we're talking about public transportation in the United States. Pittsburgh, Philadelphia being some of those bigger cities in Pennsylvania are going to have a greater availability to public transportation. And something that I really love as well is they also have train services. They do have the Keystone Corridor Amtrak service, which runs all the way from Harrisburg to New York. This train service does go through Philadelphia. So if you're looking to hit a few spots in one day, take a nice day trip, or if you're currently in Philadelphia looking to visit New York, this train service is a great way of getting around and going to explore your new area. They also have an Amtrak service that runs from Pittsburgh to Philadelphia, which is also wonderful. I think this is, again, another service that is a little bit more rare in terms of public transportation in the United States. So it's wonderful to see that we have this great state with accessibility and public transportation options. And then, again, as I stated a little bit earlier, that link down there will take you to a page of all kinds of great options. It'll take you through full maps of Pennsylvania transportation options, links to those individual services, such as the Keystone Corridor Amtrak service, or those bus route services. So definitely check it out if you're looking on going over there. If you're planning your move shortly, it could be a great help to you. Anything to add there?
I think that this is very reassuring for those who are a little bit worried about transportation to work every single day. I think Pennsylvania has some really, really great transportation-rich options. So if you are worried about that, hopefully this eases your nerves a little bit. There are lots of different options for you, which is very, very exciting.
Absolutely. That's great. Thank you so much. I will jump over to our next slide here and pass the time back to Sam.
Thank you. Alrighty. So schools in Pennsylvania, there are hundreds of public, private, and charter school options. So when you're thinking about finding a school for your kiddos, it is reassuring that there are many different options. Like I said, there's public school, private school, and charter school. So I would do a little bit of research into these three types of schools. All of them offer some great education options. It just depends on which option you would like and which one would better suit your child. Public school is free. Private and charter sometimes have options where you have to pay for that education. So I would just do a little research into that. First of all, I think it's important to look into what school district you're in. So this means that wherever you are planning on living, where your facility is located, this link here down below, the second link, this will actually help you find the area of the schools that your child will be going to. So you can find what school district you're in, and then you can look at the list of schools that are in that district. I'd like to point out, if you have a special needs child, there are a lot of options. Oftentimes there will be a special needs program within each school. So I would look at the website of the school and just dive a little deeper, see if there's a special needs program for your child. And then also, while you're there, just look into the many different things that the school offers for your children.
Samantha, I would just sort of reinforce, I think, what you mentioned, because this is not the case in all parts of the world, and that is public education for kindergarten, which is essentially age 5, I believe. So from kindergarten through to grade 12, public education in the United States is free. Free as in free. There's no sort of additional fees. Obviously, each family is responsible for school supplies and so on and so forth, but the actual schooling and the education is free. This is a great benefit. And I see that we had a question about what is the difference between private and charter schools. I'll just quickly jump in on this one. A private school, as the name suggests, is a school that also provides K through 12 education, but it is one that has to be paid for privately. Private education in the United States is generally fairly costly unless you have access to perhaps financial support or scholarships through, perhaps a community group or a church group, etc. So private, there's always the private option where a family can pay. Charter schools is something that has emerged as a model of education in the U.S. probably in the last 15 or 20 years. Charter schools are run independent of the public school system. They teach a very similar curriculum, and they are accountable to the same educational outcomes. Generally, charter schools are also free, or if there is a fee, it's generally very, very modest. But many times, charter school education is also free. So, as Sam said, part of evaluating where you may be located or preparing for relocation to Pennsylvania is to become familiar with your education options. And our relocation team, Sam and Molly and others, are here to help you, walk through that and sort of evaluate your options and make the best decision for you and your family.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Ron. That is very important to note. I know that sometimes the school systems and how we do school in the U.S. can be very confusing. So thank you so much for clearing that up. Lastly, I just want to talk about registering your child into a U.S. school. I know sometimes this can be confusing as well. The link below, this first link here, this will take you through every step that you need to take to registering your child in a U.S. school. But like Ron said, the relocation team is more than happy to help guide you through this. We know that it is challenging and it's not easy to remember all of those steps. So we are here for you every step of the way. Is there anything that anyone else has to add before I move on?
Thanks for asking, Sam. I did just want to add, just to reiterate, of course, your relocation team is here to help, and education is very important to us as well as you and your growing family. I think it's important to know as well is that when you're considering moving to a certain location or a certain district of where schools will be, and you're considering your housing, a lot of the public schools and some of even the private school options as well as those charter options do offer bus pickup. They'll have bus stops that you can take your children to so that they can have transportation to and from school. Your relocation team here is here to help with that. If we need to discuss different areas to be in closeness and a proximity to the schools that are best suited for you and your family, we're happy to dig into that. A lot of these public schools as well offer after-school programs where they can dive deeper into learning, hang out with friends, get to know the community, which is just a great way to get acclimated into a new area and settle in better and help children settle in as well. Thank you, Sam. That was all I had to add.
Great. Thank you so, so much. All right. Next, I'm going to dive a little bit deeper into the job opportunities in the state of Pennsylvania for your spouse or dependents. These are just a sample of the leading job industries in Pennsylvania, but this is not all of them. This is just a little bit of a sample. First, I would like to share a little fun fact. Pennsylvania is the founders of the nation's first hospital. So that is incredible and very fun to know. So some of the top industries, I won't go through them all, but some of them include manufacturing, plastics and chemicals. So that means like in a factory, robotics, energy production, food processing, and then distribution and logistics. So there's a lot of big industries that offer a wide variety of jobs. Some of the highest demand jobs in the area are IT specialists, jobs at amusement parks like that Hershey amusement park that we talked about previously, cashiers, childcare workers, any job in the fast food industry. So there are a lot of jobs that are available and open. I'd also just like to mention that you can always inquire at your facility if there are any lower level jobs, such as a cafeteria aide or any janitorial work. This would be a great option as well if anything is available, so that you can go to work together at the same place. I'd also like to touch on Indeed, the job hiring website. This is a fantastic tool to find jobs that fit your qualifications. You can upload your resume into Indeed, and it will find the best jobs that are suitable for you and your qualifications, which is very handy. Lastly, I'd just like to touch on doing research on creating a resume and best tips on how to conduct an interview for a job. It's very important in the U.S. that you have a resume that shows all of your skills and your qualifications. If you need any help with this, any resources to help guide you through how to create a resume or how to have an interview with an employer, we are very happy to help you through this and give you all the tips that you need. Ron or Molly, do you have anything that you'd like to add to this?
Well, I think just with regards to employment opportunities, and I think it's great that you call out what the opportunities are for someone's spouse, because that's always an important consideration as well, to be sure. Just want to very briefly touch on the job opportunities that we actually have for our candidates in Pennsylvania. So at the outset of the presentation today, we called out some of the larger cities in Pennsylvania. And I think I'll just take a second and just call out, sort of our top couple of employers that we're currently recruiting for in Pennsylvania. One is located in Allentown, Lehigh Valley Health System. Very modern, very progressive. They offer a really, really compelling compensation and relocation package. So that's Lehigh Valley Health in Allentown. Another one of the large centers that was called out is Pittsburgh. And we are very actively recruiting for a large health system there called Allegheny Health Network. They've got facilities in and around the Pittsburgh area. We're recruiting for probably one of the largest home health employers in the country that has locations across Pennsylvania. And just on the topic of home health, I would just quickly put in a plug. Be watching for an upcoming webinar in the next couple of weeks that you're all invited to, where we will be focusing specifically on what is home health care in the U.S. It's different than what most international applicants think that it is. It's the area of nursing employment in the U.S. that's growing most quickly. So would really encourage everyone to join us for that and learn about what it looks like to provide one-to-one care, acute care in an individual's homes. So there's certainly numerous other employers that we're recruiting for in the state of Pennsylvania. Again, our recruiting team can be reached using that link in the top section of your the chat section of your screen. But I wanted to just very quickly just call out who actually some of our employers are in the state.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. All right. I'd like to quickly just talk about the licensure requirements and the English language test that you will need for Pennsylvania. Just remember that all of this information is subject to change. On the left here, we have the licensure requirements. A social security number is required, although an affidavit is accepted. You must have an active U.S. license in any state in order to transfer to Pennsylvania. A Pennsylvania temporary permit will be provided when you apply for that license, which is nice. This helps you hopefully be able to start work sooner with that temporary license. In order to fulfill these licensure requirements, you have to take a child abuse recognition course, and you have to have the Credentials Evaluation Services report. This is required as well. I'd just like to remind you that if you have any questions about this process, you will have help from your licensure specialist that will be assigned to you. Please feel free to reach out to them once they are assigned. They are experts in this, and they will make sure that this is as smooth as possible transition for you. The English language tests that you will need, there are a few of them. We have the TOEFL, the IELTS, PTE, MET, and below this link here takes you to the English exams that you can receive in order to gain a Pennsylvania license. But again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to our team and the licensure team for further assistance.
Thank you, Sam. And I just want to mention as well, with the English language test, I know that this is really important and something that really makes a lot of our candidates really nervous. We do have a wonderful program here at Worldwide to help with the English language test, with assistance of tutoring and training, and going over any questions that you may have. So if you have any questions about that, please reach out to your Worldwide representative. We'll be happy to get you in touch with correct contacts. And we do offer an amazing program here to assist our applicants with taking that test.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for mentioning that. Alrighty, next we are going to hear from Molly. She is going to be talking to us about the cost of living in Pennsylvania.
Thank you so much, Sam. Our next few slides, we'll go over the cost of living in Pennsylvania. I know this is a big subject for applicants, and one of the biggest things that everyone needs to know before coming over. We want to make sure that you're setting a good budget, good expectations for your living in Pennsylvania to make sure that you're set up for success. As we can see here, average cost of living in Pennsylvania is around $50,000 a year, which is an average. I'd say the Pennsylvania in general is a very average cost of living in comparison to many of the states here in the United States. We have some that are going to be a lot more costly, whereas Pennsylvania is a really nice sweet middle ground and great for the average family and average job industries here within the United States. Groceries and food on average per month is around $280. Now that depends, of course, on how big your family is, what foods you're getting. Everyone's budget is going to differ just based upon your needs and your wants and the income coming in. Average transportation costs. As you can see here, this number is a very big range, but it really depends upon a lot of things. This includes things like if you have a car loan or not, if we're taking lots of public transportation and using the cost for public transportation, the cost of gas, and services include that you may need when having a vehicle. So the range is a great range, but it really depends upon what is coming, what your expenses are every month. We are partnered with a wonderful company who can help you with an auto loan should you be interested in that. When coming over to the United States, they can help you put in a proper budget according to what that cost will be every month. This is International Auto Source. If you're looking for more information about them, or if this is a really big area of concern for you, if you'd like to speak with somebody, we do have access to them on our applicant resource page, onto the worldwide page. Feel free to get in touch with your worldwide representative. A relocation coordinator is always more than happy to help you get in touch and to go over different options that you may have in terms of transportation and the costs associated. We're also going over childcare costs on this slide, which vary, again, greatly depending on how many children you have, what those childcare costs are, and how often you're maybe needing them. But they're anywhere from about $900 to $1,400 a month. And again, this really just depends on your needs, your schedule, how many children we have. Your relocation coordinator is always happy to help with looking into childcare options near your facility or your place of work or your home, to ensure that we're finding something that's going to meet your budget, as well as be a good suit for you and your family. The income tax rate, which is taxes that you would see coming off of your paycheck, is 3.07%. So that's a great thing to keep note of. These things can change, but that's something that's great to take note of, as that is an extra cost within your cost of living within Pennsylvania. And then on here, this slide, we also just mentioned what cities have a lower cost of living in terms of popular cities in Pennsylvania. Wilkes-Barre and Scranton are two of the cities that have a lower cost of living. Keep in mind that just depending on where you're going and what you're doing, there may be less things available, right? Big cities may have a slightly higher cost of living, but they're going to have more amenities too, such as public transportation, as we discussed earlier, more housing options. So there's a lot of things to consider when you're considering all the areas that we have in Pennsylvania.
I think that's great info, Molly. I think it's also important to add that, like most states in the U.S., right, the U.S., the various states in many cases are larger than some other countries, and the cost of living varies significantly. It can be much higher, much lower, even depending upon where you are in a particular state. So just want to call out that the cost of living is not identical wherever you may be in Pennsylvania. It certainly varies greatly across the country, and it varies to a degree across Pennsylvania as well. Tracy or CJ, I'm going to ask if you could just put in the chat feature. We're going to share a link with everyone. We encourage you to copy this and save it for yourself. It is a link where you can, on your own, very easily compare the cost of living between different locations in the United States. So take note of this link. Tracy's just posted it up here. It starts with www.bankrate.com. You'll find it really super interesting. Spend a little bit of time utilizing this tool, this link, and I think you'll really gain a really great education on just how greatly the cost of living can vary from place to place, within a state, from state to state, and across the country. So just another tool available for you to help you learn as much as possible about where you may be located so that you can make the best possible decision for your future.
Thank you so much, Ron. Here in the relocation department, we use those links often to help candidates when they're considering places to live near their facility. Like Ron mentioned, it can vary greatly depending on where you are. Even a city that is 20 minutes over, the cost of living can vary from another city. So I think that's a great tool to use and utilize while you're considering all the different locations when you're taking a look into schools, public transportation options, the proximity of your facility and childcare. So that's a wonderful tool to use. If you need assistance while using that tool, again, please don't hesitate to reach out to your worldwide representative. The relocation team is happy to jump on calls and go over these with you as you explore those options. Going on to our next part of the presentation, this is still just part of that cost of living, but there's a lot of great facts in here that I wanted all of you to have access to. Just different ways of analyzing the data that we are going over here today. The cost of living in Pennsylvania is 2% lower than the national average. Housing is 13% lower than the national average, which is great information. You know, housing being 13% lower than the national average is a great benefit. Housing is one of the biggest costs that we see our applicants and our own selves, you know, living in the United States having on a month-to-month basis. So it's great to know that in accordance to the rest of the nation that they are falling lower on that scale. Healthcare services are also at a lower cost base versus national average. It's about 13% lower. These are things for checkup appointments with your doctor, going to the dentist. We do have information on here about average property taxes, inheritance tax for different retirement plans and beneficiaries. There is no estate tax in Pennsylvania, which is great to know. As you really settle into your new location and decide to make it home, you may decide to take bigger and better steps to get settled and acclimated in the States. So some of these numbers here are just great to be able to help you prepare even further for your future in Pennsylvania. On our next few slides here, these are just a few graphs and informational pieces on the cost of living. I thought these were great to include in our slideshow today, just to give you a different visual aspect of what the average costs may be. I know everyone processes data and information differently, so I hope that we've put in a few different examples to help everyone understand the cost of living here in Pennsylvania. But this is just an average expense here in Pennsylvania. So it shows you the categories such as housing and utilities, healthcare, food, gas, and energy, and then other different needs or other different items that you may have. And then it also breaks it down by each utility that you may have, such as electric, gas, cable or internet services, as well as your water bill. So these are just a great reference. Again, this varies greatly depending on where you are within the state of Pennsylvania, as well as your particular situations of your needs and your family's needs and how big your family is. But this is just a great quick reference just to see the different costs that you may face when you come into Pennsylvania. Our next graph here that we have to share with you all today is just average rent by bedroom size. I can't say it enough, but again, this does vary greatly depending on where you're going within the state of Pennsylvania. But this can give you an idea of what to expect when you are looking at rental properties, when you're considering your permanent home to secure and live in. It goes by anywhere from a studio apartment to 4 bedrooms. And keep in mind as well that there's all kinds of housing options. We have apartments and condos and townhouses to just a regular house in a suburban area. And your relocation team is here to help you with looking at different costs and different property options. We can assist with calling for more information, assist you with going through the process of getting secured housing. So please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We are always happy to help. This is one of the biggest things we need when moving to a new area, right, is a place to live and call home. And we want to make sure that we find the best thing to suit you and your family in the proper location with the proper budget.
I would also just like to add one quick thing, something about utilities on the previous slide. Sometimes I know that this can be a little bit confusing, but if you are living in an apartment, for example, sometimes some of these utilities will be covered by the apartment. If you have any questions about what is included in the apartment cost or what you will have to pay, you will just need to reach out to the property manager, the apartment complex. And if you have a home, this is a little bit different as well. So for these utilities, they can vary. Sometimes you don't have to pay for all of them, but just a little reminder to always make sure to ask these questions when you are renting or buying a home.
Wonderful. That's a great information, Sam. You're absolutely correct. I know things such as maybe a water bill can be included with the lease price. So thank you so much for adding that in. And our last slide here is just a great quick glance at the Pennsylvania average cost of living versus the national average cost of living. Just kind of goes over the annual income, rent, your home value, gas, electricity, public transportation. Kind of shows you what the average is for Pennsylvania versus what the national average is and what we're seeing. So you can see some areas are slightly above, some areas are slightly under, but across the board with that national average and its comparison, it's very average, which is wonderful. We're not seeing anything where the prices are so much higher than the national average, which we love to see. That was our last slide for today's presentation. Our next slide is going into our Q&A portion of today's webinar. I will welcome CJ is going to come in and assist us with pulling those questions, and we can answer those. So if you have any questions now, if you haven't already, put them in the chat. Please feel free to do so. This is your time and our time to go over those. We'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, thanks, Molly. That's really a great presentation. Yeah, so I've seen questions from the chat, and to all of our viewers, if you have questions to our panel, to Ron, to Samantha and Molly, just put that on the chat, and we will help you answer all your questions. So let's go with our first question, and it is from John Ernest Pablo. What is the difference between a private and a charter school?
I'll take that one, CJ. I think we spoke to that briefly earlier on. So the difference between a private and a charter school, private schools, as the name suggests, are privately paid for. So this is a private education in the U.S. is generally fairly costly. So that describes the private school option. Charter schools are part of the education system. They operate outside of the public system, but they are publicly funded. So oftentimes they're independently run by community groups or church groups in some cases. Charter schools in many cases are also free. If there are fees, they're generally very modest. But all parents have all of those options available to them: public school, charter school, as well as private school. Probably the main difference between public and charter schools is that I think, generally speaking, parents would feel that they have more influence in a charter school setting, perhaps, than they would in a public school setting. But there's a lot of great information available on all of these options online, and this would certainly encourage everyone to take some time and learn more about this for themselves. And then our team, of course, is always happy to answer questions and provide further information.
Yeah, thanks, Ron. That's really helpful because I'm also an immigrant, and I don't really have idea with the charter school, because in our country we only have private and public schools. So that's really helpful.
CJ, you're too old to go to charter school here, so.
Oh yeah, for sure. Maybe in the future for my kids, Ron. All right. Next question is from Vivian. What is the cost of accommodation, minimum and maximum fee in the top 3 cities that you mentioned?
This is a great question. Now, it really depends upon the accommodation that we are considering. We did have those charts earlier that just went over the average costs of rent, which depends upon bedrooms, bedroom sizes, amenities that they may have, location that they may have. So that very great to see. But this is a wonderful graph that can go over those average costs of living. These may be slightly higher in those really big cities where you're going to have more amenities such as public transportation. But we can see here that the studio apartments averaging anywhere between $800 a month to $1,100 a month. One bedroom is similar with a $900 to $1,200 per month. Two bedrooms are anywhere from $1,200 to $1,300 a month, and so on in that area. And also, it really depends upon what we're considering. Right? If we're considering getting a house, we may not have as many amenities as an apartment is going to get, but we may have a lower price on a house for a 4-bedroom house versus a 4-bedroom apartment. Your relocation team is absolutely here to assist you with finding a great permanent place to live, or even temporary options while we work on getting settled into the city. If we're looking to do apartment tours, or looking to speak with a real estate agent, we are absolutely here to assist you with finding temporary housing options as well. We have a lot of great partnerships and a lot of wonderful companies that can assist with finding a perfect accommodation for you across the country.
Okay, thanks, Molly. Next question is from Lorena. She's asking, how about security relatively compared to the other places?
This is a fantastic question, and I love this question because this is a question that we get a lot from a lot of our applicants. We want to make sure that you're going somewhere safe and being safe. I will say across the board with every state and location here in the United States, it's going to be very based upon those specific locations within the states. And of course, if you're in a bigger city, we're going to see a crime rate that is higher than a rural area where we're going to have a less population of people. Safety-wise, we've moved many applicants to Pennsylvania. Thankfully, no bad stories have come back our way, which we're very excited, very happy about. I always caution all of our applicants and my personal friends, my personal family, to use smart judgment. Having someone who knows where you are if you're traveling alone. Having a device to communicate with somebody on. The relocation team has resources and informational guides about emergency line service numbers, different contacts that are associated with the state that you may need, such as even something as, poison control. Should we ingest something that maybe we shouldn't ingest? We have a full guide that goes over all those different contacts that you may need. In emergency situations, contacting the police, an ambulance, fire station should the need arise. But I always just recommend exercising, caution in all aspects. Don't walk around the streets alone at nighttime. Make sure that you're with somebody. Should you be going out late at night? If you're working a late shift at the hospital, have a friend accompany you to your vehicle. And I would recommend this no matter where you are in the country. Even to my personal friends, even for where I live, where my mother lives, that's what I'm always going to recommend is just exercising caution.
And I'd just like to add, if you ever are feeling unsafe at all in a situation, you can always, wherever you're at, if you're at your work, at the hospital, at a restaurant, you can always ask an employee or someone in that building to just help assist you. So hopefully that settles your nerves a little bit about the safety in Pennsylvania.
Let me just add a general comment to this point. I think wherever you go, whatever city you're in, and quite frankly, whatever country you're in, for the most part, wherever you go, you're going to have parts of a city that are entirely and fully safe, and you're going to have locations that you would not routinely visit. I've recently returned from a pretty extensive tour across Asia, visited many different cities. And whether I was in Seoul, South Korea, or in Manila, Philippines, or anywhere else, even within those locations, there are parts of those cities that you would be very comfortable in, that you would have no issues or concerns. And there are areas within those cities and others where you simply wouldn't make a point of visiting. And it's very similar here in the U.S. So all good comments that have been shared. And I just wanted to maybe add that larger perspective. Hospitals are generally located in areas that are very secure, even those hospitals that are located in inner city locations. Hospitals take security of their patients and their workers obviously very seriously. And as a professional person working in the United States, earning a professional salary, you will have the opportunity, and I'm sure you'll make the choice, to be living in a community where you will feel very safe, where you will feel that your family is safe and that you can enjoy your everyday comings and goings. So great question, but I think it's also really important to, to have the bigger perspective on this really important issue.
Yeah, okay. So we're down with our last question, and this is from Ryan Navalta. How do less known cities like Erie differ from major cities in terms of cost of living and cultural diversity?
Mm-hmm. I'll take a crack at this to start, and then others can chime in. So Erie, Pennsylvania is probably what we would describe as a medium-sized city. So a city the size of Erie, you're going to find really all of the same sort of resources in terms of shopping and housing and education choices that you would find in larger cities. Some of the things that you may not necessarily find in Erie, or at least not to the same extent that you would find in larger cities like Philadelphia and Pittsburgh, might be some entertainment options if you're into going to big concerts, stadium concerts, and that sort of thing. You're obviously going to have fewer of those up here in Erie. On the topic of ethnic and national diversity, I think it's worth saying that, in the last 15 to 20 years, the makeup of the United States from an ethnic perspective has changed dramatically as the number of immigrants continues to increase generally. I think specifically in the state of Pennsylvania, there is significant diversity based on ethnicity and nationality because of some of the larger cities and because of Pennsylvania's proximity to places like New York and Virginia and Ohio. I think also its location on the East Coast also is very attractive to immigrants from all parts of the world. So I think from a diversity perspective, whether you're in Erie or whether you're in Philadelphia, for example, I think you would expect to find vibrant ethnic communities from many, many different nationalities, even in some of these medium-sized cities.
Absolutely. And to add to that as well, here in the relocation team here at Worldwide, we are happy to help you look for communities and new ways of meeting people and going through different ethnic cultures and finding different resources to assist you with acclimating to your area. We do this all the time for our applicants, and we're happy to take the time to look into these options for you so that you can find a community and you can find areas and activities to do to feel like you're more at home and make your new area become a greater home to you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. CJ, I see we're coming up on time. And as I promised at the outset, we do want to keep our commitment and be respectful of everyone else's time. Just a couple of things real quick in wrapping up. I see there's one further question here from Rima. Rima, short answer to your question is click on the link in the top of the chat section of your screen to connect with one of our recruiters, and someone will be able to help you straight away. Just a couple of things in closing. Samantha, Molly, anything that you would like to add?
Just that if you have questions, concerns, if you're looking for more information, please don't hesitate to reach out to your Worldwide team. This is what we are here for. We want to help you acclimate. We want to help you make the best decision possible for you and your family, and we are happy to do so.
Right.
Yep, I would just like to mirror that. This is our job. We want to help you feel comfortable and safe coming to the U.S. So thank you so much for listening to us and joining this presentation.
All right. Thank you to both of you, and thank you to all of you, our guests who joined us today. If you don't already follow us on Facebook, I would encourage you to do that so that you can receive the most current information on other upcoming webinars that we have. We have a webinar presentation on a weekly basis on a wide variety of topics of interest to international candidates. Also, if you have nursing friends or colleagues that are interested in living and working in the U.S., please inquire about our Refer a Nurse Friend program where you can earn referral rewards. It's fun. Not that you often describe a referral program as being fun, but ours is fun. It's easy to register and participate, so we certainly encourage you to do that as well. Thank you to everyone who joined us today. Be on the lookout for the email that will include a recording of today's presentation that you'll be receiving around this time tomorrow. We look forward to connecting with each of you again soon on another webinar presentation. Thanks and bye for now.